Mr. Deputy Speaker, I rise in support of the motion of thanks to the President's address. It is with deep humility and also with deep gratitude that I deliver my maiden speech in this House. When I first knocked on doors in Pasir Ris, Changi, many residents did not just share their problems or feedback, they shared their lives with me. A working mom told me how she struggled every day juggling her job and caring for her toddler and father who now has dementia. An elderly couple on Pulau Ubin spoke about their pride in keeping the island's heritage alive, even with inconveniences that come with living on the island. And a group of youths at Changi Beach showed me the tidal pools with such wonder, reminding me how much they care about the world we live in. These conversations left a very deep impression on me. They remind me that behind every policy, every statistics, there's real people with genuine struggles and hopes. And they are the very reason why I stand here today. For my maiden speech, I wish to focus on 3 groups of people who are especially close to my heart. First, the sandwich generation, whose burdens I personally felt as a daughter, a mother, and a working professional. Second, those living at the edge of our country, whom I've come to know very fondly through my time at Pasir Ris, Changi, from the offshore island of Ubin to where the east-west line ends at Pasir Ris town. And lastly, the younger generation, whose future depends on how we safeguard the environment we leave behind. Deputy Speaker, sir, let me begin with the sandwich generation. Singaporeans who are raising children while caring for aging parents, often while juggling work, housing loans, and rising costs. They are doing everything right, working hard, paying taxes, supporting their families. Yet, many carry a heavy and unseen load, and at times, everything can feel so wrong and so overwhelming. I've experienced a glimpse of this myself. In the same year that I welcomed my newborn, my father was diagnosed with cancer. Those days were split between baby care, work, and hospital appointments. Fast forward to just this year, whenever my toddler falls sick, I often catch the same illnesses, from the common flu to HFMD. And I know MOS Jasmine and her children's book of choice is Paw Patrol. I think there were many books being introduced in this chamber. I'll introduce my version. Mine is Busy Bear, busy spelled with B-I-Z-Z-Y. And I must have gone through the entire series like 5 over times throughout the entire HFMD episode. While I am now an expert at reciting Busy Bear stories, this had knock-on effects on my work and my community engagements. But I was able to get through those moments with a supportive family, both at home and at work, and I'm very grateful for them. But I know many, many Singaporeans do not have this safety net. For many, the load is far heavier. Caring for parents with chronic illnesses, raising several children, taking on extra responsibilities at work just to keep the job and to pay the bills, and then receiving news that a loved one has dementia. Their sacrifices are greater, and I feel deeply for them. The government has made progress, extending paternity leave, creating shared parental leave, strengthening MediShield and MediShield Life, expanding the baby bonus scheme, and introducing the home caregiving grant. But we must go further and push the boundaries of the support so that the benefits are more impactful and reach more families. A child's vulnerable years do not end after infancy. Parents need time, flexibility, and support through toddlerhood and early schooling. And when it comes to caring for aging parents, many families shoulder equally heavy burdens, from weekly hospital visits for dialysis and chemotherapy, to providing daily supervision for parents with dementia, often while holding full-time jobs. What I've just described is only the tip of the iceberg. And that is why I call on both the government and employers to build an ecosystem where caregiving is not just tolerated, but actively supported. Caregiving should never, ever come at the cost of one's career. One should feel no fear of repercussions for choosing a hospital visit with an aged parent over a day at the office. One should feel no guilt for staying home to care for a sick child. If we are serious about reversing declining fertility rates while also caring for an aging society, two forces pressing on us at the same time, then we must adapt. And this could mean exploring new leave schemes that reflect modern caregiving realities, perhaps even a distinct sandwich generation leave, for the lack of a better name, separate from childcare or medical leave. We can also strengthen the national mental health and support services to help families navigate the maze of dual caregiving. And it requires cultivating workplace cultures that value families as much as productivity. Because at the heart of it, strong families are the foundation of a strong Singapore. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I now turn to Singaporeans whose voices are often overlooked. 我无名岛的居民们. About 20 plus Singaporeans still call Pulau Ubin home. They are custodians of our living heritage. Yet they face higher electricity tariffs than us on mainland, and at times have difficulty accessing national schemes. But to this end, I'm grateful to have agencies that have actively stepped in to explore how to close these gaps when pointed out. NParks, EMA, People's Association, and NEA, it gives me assurance that I am working with partners that genuinely care for the people. Next, Changi Village. Known to many as a leisure spot, but for many residents and business owners, it is their home and livelihood. While the rest of Singapore progresses, Changi Village often feels overlooked. Roadworks have worsened access, and businesses are struggling. Its experience reminds us that progress cannot be measured only by what happens at the center, while the edges are left behind. I'm often asked, why do you care so much for small communities like Ubin and Changi Village? Why do you turn up there so often? There is no political mileage in doing that. But as parliamentarians, our duty extends beyond representing the majority. It is to ensure that those on the margins are seen, are heard, and are supported. In Pasir Ris, for example, some residents live literally at the edge of the town along areas affected by major construction for the Cross Island Line and Loyang Viaduct. They too feel the pressure of progress, in their case, more than they bargained for. Residents in areas like Flora Estate are eager to embrace our car-light ambition. Yet insufficient bus services make car-light more of a burden than a choice. Mr. Deputy Speaker, whether on an offshore island, in a 50-year-old flat, or in a condominium, every Singaporean's needs are valid and every voice must count. And these edges are not just geographical, like what I've described. In different seasons of life, many of us find ourselves at the margins, living with rare diseases, facing infertility, or struggling quietly in ways that statistics may never capture. If we focus solely on numbers, we risk forgetting what matters most, that we are all Singaporeans with diverse needs, deserving of care, attention, and inclusion. Lastly, let me speak about our shared environment. Singapore has rightly pursued growth, but rapid urbanization has left many feeling we live in a dense, hot, concrete city. But let us not forget, we aspire to be a city in a garden, not just a garden in a city. Plans to reclaim 193 hectares in Changi for an aviation park made headlines recently, and it may be necessary, but we must acknowledge the ecological cost, the possible detrimental effects on seagrass meadows, marine ecosystems, and biodiversity. But this is not a call to halt development, but a call for balance. Every hectare we reclaim, every tree we fall, comes at a cost, and this price will be paid for by the generations after us. On National Day this year, upon their invitation, I joined Julian and Xiao Yun for an intertidal walk at Changi Beach. They were the two young Singaporeans who raised the petition calling for HDB to scale back its plans for the Changi Reclamation project. Honestly, I was half expecting them to quiz me about my stand on the project. But it turns out all they wanted was to share the magical intertidal pools with me. So together with dozens of youths and families who were miraculously all awake at 4 a.m., we walked through the intertidal zones for 2 solid hours, spotting stingrays anemones and starfish, and ended the morning at Changi village over a breakfast of nasi lemak, youtiao, and wonton mee. I learned much from the group about the unique seagrass meadow that grows along Changi Beach. And we exchanged views on how the stakeholder engagement process for development projects like these can be better. It dawned upon me that if we want to steer our youth away from despair or even from vaping, for them to not feel so disconnected, then we must give them causes that matter, not more rules, not more red tape, not more suspensions. Nature can be that sanctuary, that classroom, and that source of resilience where they find that purpose. Environmental protection is not a trend. It is an opportunity to invest in the well-being, identity, and future of our youth. Mr. Deputy Speaker, whether it's supporting families under strain, giving a voice to those at the fringes, or preserving the environment for future generations, the principle is the same. We should measure a society not just by its growth, but by how it cares, listens, and plans for the long term. These are not isolated issues. They are strands of a single fabric that binds us as Singaporeans. And it's with this mindset that I turn to the We First guiding principle that must shape our collective journey forward. And I know there are many different interpretations of We First in this chamber, but this is mine. We First means families before systems, where caregivers in the workforce are supported and not stretched to breaking point. We First means those at the margins matter just as much as those at the center, because every voice in the country deserves to be heard. We First means stewardship before short-term gain, so we must preserve our environment as a gift to future generations. Ultimately, the measure of our nation is not how fast we advance, but how firmly we hold together in the decades to come. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I support the motion.